Greetings and hello and welcome back to Reach Your Dew Point. Once again, the podcast goes on. The podcast goes on. Is that from the Titanic movie? I'm not sure. Anyway, with me today is somebody I've known for probably longer than either one of us cares to admit, Kirk Weisler, who is a frequent MC at conferences and meetings, and we'll talk all about that kind of stuff and some other things that Kirk has going on. But Kirk, hello, Kirk. Good to see you, sir.
Roy, it's a pleasure to be with you on the Dew Point podcast. I mean, that's
Yes,
fun.
sir.
I've been
It
just
is.
thinking about how clever that name is.
Well, thank you.
So I know you didn't make it up. Where'd you get it?
Oh, it's mine. It's I actually trademarked it. I know it's surprising. I actually did something relatively smart at one point in my life, but there you go. So just Kirk is the Chief Initiative Officer of the Inititaive Institute and is commonly known at conferences and meetings and so forth as the Chief Morale Officer because he does tend to generate a little positivity in the world. And it's a great little line that you have, Kirk, in your bio. Substack says, Chief Initiative Officer at the Initiative Institute empowers teams with transformative leadership and culture building strategies. A visionary in workplace dynamics, he's committed to fostering initiative and innovation. And speaking of initiative, there's this book that's been around for quite a while now, and I actually have a copy or two, called the Dog Poop Initiative. And I was going to say something snarky about, well, you've built your career on dog poop, but
Right.
and it's sold over 1 million copies. That's
It,
amazing.
it's I'm amazed. I'm amazed because when I first printed the first few copies, I wondered, are these going to be in my garage for a long time? And because I don't know. I mean, what do you? I didn't know. I had no idea what the possibilities were.
Well, it's great, and if you haven't seen a copy of the Dog Poop Initiative, if you're not familiar with it or don't know what the Dog Poop Initiative is, Kirk's going to show us one. But basically, there it is. Basically, it's a story about taking responsibility and showing some initiative, getting out there and doing something. It's I won't tell you the story because that might spoil it a little bit, but basically that's the thing. People see something, they point it out, they talk to each other about it, and somebody finally decides to do something, and that's the key, right?
Yeah. It's like so if I did a podcast, I would call it Dew Poo Point, where you're just like the
The
dew
do
point.
poo point or the
Yeah,
doo doo point, whichever.
or the poo point, the poo pointers. We don't want
The
poo
poo
pointers.
point.
Yeah.
Or a pointer is a kind of a dog, so it could be the pointer. We'll just leave it there.
Roy, when you and I met all those years ago at HDI's conference, I think my first one was 2000 or 2001. I think I'm coming up on a quarter century.
That's
And
amazing.
I know that's on your shirt tails, but still, I don't know if the book came out, I think in 20, whatever it was. But it's because of HDI, all those wonderful people there, they take a copy back home with them. So they take a copy back home, and most of the sales come from word of mouth. So some CIO or some help desk professional sees it on someone else's desk and goes, "What's that?" They go, "Oh, you should read that." And then that's where most of the sales have come from HDI. Initially, the first few years, and then the best math we have says that there's over 80,000 different organizations that have a copy somewhere inside.
That's amazing.
Probably on a shelf, but they could be using it.
Oh yeah, and taking it down and showing it to people. But that's word of mouth is an amazing thing, and I think that's been one of the incredible powers of social media is that it became electronic and global word of mouth. It's really, become a marketing tool and a communications tool and an organization tool and all these other things. And a good many of business techniques and tools themselves are built on social media style platform like Microsoft Teams, right? That's kind of like social media.
Exactly
So
right.
as you're going around and talking to organizations and at conferences like the HCI conference and so forth, what's your sense of how people are feeling about the developments of new technologies like AI and that kind of? People hopeful? Are they scared? Are they all of the above? What's going on out there?
I think there's probably a fair combination. You probably could answer that question as better than I could. The last event I was at was a realtors conference just a couple days ago in Houston. About 600 realtors, and they're jacked. They're not excited about things like Redfin or things that seem to be do-it-yourselfers. But at the same time, they offer additional services. It seems like, oh, I'm going to save this realtor fee by using this app or this tech, but you lose a lot of the personal touch and assistance that you really want to close the deal, especially if you're in a bidding war, that kind of thing. So none of these top performing realtors felt threatened by technology, but they all felt enabled, empowered by it. So the feeling there was excitement.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a fair amount of that. Though I'm also sensing some backlash now, where people are starting to see negative effects and so forth. And they're discovering the insufficiency of AI in a lot of cases. But it's interesting to speculate about the role that people are going to play in the future, right? How the human plus the machine will interact together, and I think that excites me. And I've been talking about that for a long time.
I think that's tremendously exciting, and I don't know. So I just read this really interesting article. It's probably not relevant to your listeners and the people that follow you, but I thought it was interesting that someone said that there's a new disorder, and it's some type of GPT disorder. Basically, you can interact with ChatGPT as just a tool, but you can also give it a name.
Mm-hmm.
And people are forming relationships with it, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, we already have confirmation bias from our algorithms, right? The things that we view are, are the algorithms feed us more to validate our personal viewpoint of the world. Well, the spouse was saying that their spouse has a stronger relationship with their chat GPT engine than they do, and it's feeding their psychosis of being right about things and locking them in their worldview. And they'd rather have a relationship with someone who validates them than someone who tells them about the reality of situations. And this is a growing phenomenon. So we're going to see a lot of interesting things happen with mental health, probably really positive things and some negatives as well. Same thing with technology. But yeah, it's going to be, we live in an exciting time. No question.
That is absolutely true, and I think things are changing in every aspect of our lives faster than we imagined was possible. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So speaking of changing, one of the things that people tend to change fairly often, at least I hope so, is their socks. People change their socks. Isn't that true?
It's,
Uh,
it's,
they,
it's absolutely true. And
Kirk,
you
they
listeners,
don't.
Roy is teeing me up with a softball pitch to talk about my project. And I love you for it. What do you want me to say, Roy?
I, I want you to say whatever you want to talk about. It's about your new project, which does involve, in fact, socks.
So, so, so fans and friends of Roy and the Dew Point podcast. Um, and again, I can't iterate enough how much I think there's layers of cleverness to this dew point. What's your dew point? And I've been, I think a couple of things that I've struggled with in my life, and there's plenty of weaknesses in Kirk Weiser, but one of them is the imposter syndrome has always been kind of a thing that I've battled back and forth. And some days are better than others, and some years are better than others. And another thing is, with that comes, I get focused on things I don't know how to do. So here's the things I do well. Here's the things I don't know how to do well. So I've had this thing that I've been doing with socks. I've had this idea for about almost 8 years to launch a sock brand, and it was inspired by something that happened in my personal life. But I've kicked it down the road because I'm like, what do I know about socks? I barely know about life, so I don't know how to make socks. And so, but this year in October, we're going to be launching Walkie-Talkie Socks, the world's most intentional footwear. And the idea is to wear mismatched socks. Each individual sock has its own message. So I might grab a sock that's about patience, and I might grab a sock that's about the importance of practice. So today I'm going to practice patience. I might grab a sock about resilience, and I might grab a sock about being present. Today I'm gonna focus on the things that my resilient self, and notice and call attention to the resilience of others in their presence. And so the idea is that I'm gonna step into my day with full intention, and these mismatched, beautiful socks become a reminder of that. Someone might even say, "Hey, man, your socks look really cool, but they don't match." And they go, "Yeah, and then you get to reaffirm yourself while you're reaffirming them as well.
And then they look at you like as they walk
Yeah.
away, right? That's exact.
No, well,
But you,
no.
but you,
There's so many cool socks out there.
yeah.
That was part of my negative story that I gave myself to not do the project was there's already so many cool socks out there. But I just couldn't get it off my mind. It kept recurring in my annual journal to do this idea. So, but this year in October they'll finally do it. I've been working on it since the beginning of the year. Designs, partnerships, manufacturers. Last Sunday I wore my own socks to church. They were the kind of the test pairs. So the next time you see me, Roy, I'm going to hand you a pair of mismatched socks, and I'll expect you to wear them with pride.
I will wear them with pride, sir. Because I heard about them directly from you, from the man.
There should be
So
a the website should go live this week for Walkie-Talkie Socks
wow, that's
to do
cool.
some pre-orders. No, it's for if you've been sitting on an idea for 8 years, it's pretty exciting when you finally get off your butt and do something. And what was my dew point to do that? I think that my dew point was the last couple of years. 2024, I did something interesting. I did my year of yes, challenged by some friends like you um, about stepping outside of my comfort zone. I rarely went to networking events. I go do my speaking engagements. I go do my consulting. I come home and then I become an introvert at home, and I really like it. But my friends challenged me from the military community to get more uncomfortable more often and to do hard things more often. So I said, I'm going to say in 2024, I'm going to say yes to every invitation. It's not about whether they can pay you. It's not about what they're doing. If someone invites you to go do something, you just say yes. I ended up, I ended up in multiple situations, but one of the unique things that happened that year was I got invited to speak or participate in 5 different men's programs. And these men's programs were not church. I don't know what a men's program was at that point. I thought they were church programs for something, but these were just men's programs about doing hard things, about showing up for our spouses and our families, about overcoming our shames and our addictions and all kinds of things. And it was a really interesting thing. One of the things that I took from that was I really need to step up and get things done. So many, many benefits came from my year of yes. But one of them was I took 5 projects that I've been kicking down the road and said, I'm going to do them all this year. So this year I'm going to finish 3 books, launch Walkie-Talkie Socks, and three of those,
That's great.
yeah, those are all things I put off for over 10 years. Well, the socks 8
Yeah.
years, but the others 10.
And that you've nailed it. I mean, if there's a fundamental concept around the dew point, it's that point at which you say, "I'm going to do it." And an earlier podcast episode, I was talking with Dan Turchin. I don't know if you know Dan. He's the CEO of People Rain, which is an AI based company, and Dan said that his idea of a dew point revolved around like when he was coaching entrepreneurs,
Okay.
they'll say something like, "When should I start the company?" And he says, "The time to start the company is when you can't not start the company. When it's an itch you can't not scratch."
Right.
And I think that is really a good way to put it. It's
I
something that
like
keeps
that.
coming back to you. It keeps coming back to you and keeps
Yeah.
coming back and pokes you until finally you get to a point where you say, "You know what? It's time to do that."
No,
And
I like that.
that's where
I
you're
like
at with a bunch of stuff. So that's cool.
I like that. So I think that this idea that you become an average of the five people you spend the most time with, which is an old idea, but it has a lot of merit. Today, I think it's the five people or the five types of media you spend the most time with, but it really influences us. And being around these groups of men, they were all, a lot of them were doers, but they were trying to do more or they were trying to begin doing. And so being in a community of dew point, people that were at their dew point or that were ahead of you a step or two on their dew point, I think that really inspired and influenced me to say, yeah, let's get going. Stop writing this down and start making it real.
That's it's a really interesting outlook, and obviously, at least I think the more things that we decide we're going to do, uh, and actually start to accomplish those things, the better off we're going to be, right? Because like you say, if you have this idea, it will haunt you. If it's and it's important, I think, to realize that if it does haunt you, if it keeps poking at you and poking at you,
Yes.
that it's something worthwhile. It's something that is saying, hey, you really need to think about this. I'm going to come back and poke you until you realize that
Yeah.
it's time to do it.
It's
Cool
been,
beans.
that's been a bit, I absolutely agree with you, Roy, but I ask myself why, at the Initiative Institute, we say, we know what initiative is, but why don't people take it? Why don't people take the initiative? It's because, and there's several reasons. If it's a pile of poop, the reason might be, well, it wasn't my dog, it's not my poop. But there's other things that we don't take initiative about. And that's because we think someone else is going to do it, or we don't think we have the resources to do it. That's me. I don't think I have the wherewithal to do it. I'm not sure how to do it, which is really just, oh, how come you're not asking for the help that you need? There's all kinds of little things that stop us. Fear of failure, fear of not knowing, fear of not being enough, all those things. And all those things have to be quieted or overcome so that this dew point, this action point takes place. I love what you said, this idea of when something stays on my mind, I've learned over time to be quick to act on those things on smaller things, right? Like I know if your face stayed on my mind for 3 or 4 days, I'm going to give you a call. If an idea keeps coming to my head, I'm going to act on that idea. But when it's a bigger thing like a book, like, oh, this is going to be then I talk myself out of it. I'm like, this is going to take so much work. Like, I'm not that organized. Like, I don't know how to make socks. Right? I'm not a good designer. Then I'll talk
Mm-hmm.
myself out of it. And I think just having some awareness there, and probably for me, one of the things I allowed to happen in my speaking world is I became more and more isolated. I mean, I love showing up and seeing you and my friends at conference, but that's twice a year. As opposed to having a group or a team you hang out with on a regular basis. I think there's a real power in having a more regular connection and community with like-minded people,
Mm-hmm.
doers.
One of the things that I've found to be fruitful over the last couple of years is just committing to recurring meetings with people.
Mm,
Uh, People that I have a particular connection with, people who are in like types of work. It will say, okay, we're going to meet every month or every quarter and just have a conversation. What's going on? What do you see? How do you feel? What's new? What's different? And it can be about anything or it can be about nothing. It just kind of hang out, have a conversation, and see how
yeah,
people are doing. And it's an amazing thing. And the power of being able to connect by video and audio is tremendous. I mean, having a phone conversation with somebody is great. Being able to see their facial expressions and, well, except in my case, you don't want to look at this, but seeing somebody's
you're,
face react to what you're saying is amazing.
you beautiful man. So Roy, um, if you were just going to speculate this practice that you're talking about, just checking in with somebody on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that you do that regularly with 20 people in your life or 30? Do you have if you were going to say monthly or overall, I'd probably check in with this many people on a regular basis. Whether
It's probably between 10 and 15 people that I'm regularly scheduled to be in
you're
touch
just
with.
scheduled with.
And I think that I'm in touch with a lot more people than that by messaging and through social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever.
Right, right.
But
I think you
but
you do it really. You've been really. And how long have you had this practice? If you this is decade, 2 decades. When did you pick this up?
it's probably it's more than 10 years old, probably closer to 15, I would say. Here's a good story for you. Now,
Ooh,
one Friday after I had a reputation back in the days when I was actually working on the service desk. I had a
back in the day.
reputation
Back in
that
the day. Back in the
if
day.
if I was on the service desk on Friday afternoon, something bad would happen. It got to be kind of a running joke in the organization I was in, which is a few thousand people.
Okay.
And if I was on the service desk on Friday afternoon, and so one Friday afternoon, in fact, the power went out for the entire organization. Bad things happened all over the place. We're running on generators, and there's no extra power, and so forth and so on. And in the middle of this mess, my phone rings, and my desk phone rings, and it's a direct call, and I pick it up, and it's one of the directors in the organization. And she says, "Hey, Roy, I just wanted to check in with you, make sure that you're doing okay. I know it's a mess and you got your hands full, but just hoping things are going okay and look forward to the weekend." And that person, who was the director of scientific services for the organization, and I check in with each other every single Friday to this day.
I love that story. I love that story.
Just She just decided it was a good thing to see how Roy was doing because she knew I was having a bad day. And just ever since then, we'll exchange a message, a text. LinkedIn is pretty common for both of us, so she'll send me a message. TGIF, how you doing? Hope this weekend is special because whatever. Every Friday.
So, so the listeners of Dew Point should practice this idea of a touch point, right?
Yeah.
And a scheduled touch point. So one of my mentors and someone who's pulled me aside and given me some valuable coaching and advice and over the years is a guy named Burl Workman. He runs a company called Workman Success Systems, and they do real estate coaching. They coach realtors and high performance, and they make bold claims like we're going to double your income if you'll follow our system for a year. And it's like we don't rise to the power of our or the potential of our motivation. We fall to the level of our systems. It's kind of their mantra, something like that. And so if
Mm-hmm.
we put certain systems in, so one of the first practices he has them build a system for is having a regularly scheduled meeting or a touch point or a dew point. So he says, make a list of 50 people in your life and touch them once a month. And that could, to your point, that could be a call, it could be a chat, it could be a FaceTime, it could be whatever it is. But not because you want anything from them, but just these are 50 people that are important in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And learn about them and love them and touch them in some way once a month. He said, and watch what happens to your business. Now, you're not doing it so your business will become better. You're doing it because your life will become better. But there's that phrase that we kind of poo-poo a little bit, but I don't think we should. Your net worth is associated with your network, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a correlation there. And just as you enrich your relationships, it enriches your life. That's just the natural outcome of it. And so having a system or a process. So I began to keep a little spreadsheet, and I thought, well, who are the 50 people I want to touch? I'm not a ninja at it by any means, but to the degree that I've been disciplined enough to do it, it has blessed my life. And and I can even trace business back to it. Although that's not why you do it.
Mm-hmm. It's an outcome.
Yeah.
I think it's a side effect because you have things on your mind. People are saying, "How's it going?" and
Mhm.
or they ran into somebody yesterday that might potentially want to know more about what you do. That regularity really has side effects that we don't often think about. But yeah, it's
I
great.
think can we throw another dew point out there? I was thinking about some prompts that have helped me um, when COVID hit. I think you were much quicker to embrace um face training and technology than I was. I just I had some people I said I have the personality of a game show host. So I think I could have been a TV personality, but
Hmm.
I just love and I know you do too, but I love being with people. And so I when COVID hit and my speaking and my training calendar disappeared, about the same time I also had a pretty involved assignment in my church. So I was very involved with lots of people in the church. And so I just been it was a 5 year assignment. And so I just completed my 5 year assignment for that. Essentially, this people addiction that I have just got starved immediately, and it didn't. And not only that, I wasn't providing for my family now, and I had a lot of value associated with how I did that, and so now I wasn't doing that. There was a lot of things, and I was like, and I didn't. But also, I thought I'm not the kind of person that gets depressed. I'm not the person that gets down the dumps. So I was in denial. My wife pointed that out. There was just a lot of things, that just weren't going right, and I wasn't sure. And also, remember the first couple weeks of COVID, we were like, "Well, this is like snow day when we were kids," you know. But then it just kept going on and on. Nobody knew how long it was going to go. We know now that it became a pro football and went for a couple of years, but we didn't at the time. We thought, well, this could end any week, but it didn't end. As I was sitting in a kind of a pit of despair somewhere in the middle of COVID and wasn't sure what to do next, a friend showed up in my front yard, pulled out, and to your point, I guess I'd been on his mind, and so he decided he was going to do something with this. So he popped by to see his old friend Kirk, and when he got out of the truck, and I'm going to talk about just the contagiousness of not of COVID, but of people and the sacred power we have to be a positive force in people's lives. And he just shot out of his truck with a big smile, came over and gave me a hug, and I held him at arm's length. So I said, "Hey, Jason," and he said, "Hey, Kirk, just thinking about you. Thought I'd pop by, and so glad you did." Da da da. And I just kept looking at him, Roy, and he just looked good. He looked good. I said, "Man, you look good." He said, "Thanks." I said, "No, you look good." He said, "Thanks." I said, "No, why do you look so good?" And he goes, "Oh, I've been doing a program called 75 Hard." And I go, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, "It's a book. This guy wrote this book, 75 Hard. And it basically, for 75 days, you do 5 hard things every day for 75 days. And if you miss any one of these things, you don't do the day over. You have to start back at the beginning of 75. You have to start day one." And I said, "What are these 5 things?" And he started telling me the 5 hard things. By the time he got to number 3, I had this sinking, excited, nervous feeling that I was about to go on stage, that he showed up and I needed to do these. I needed to do hard things. I needed to get out of my slump, to get out of my slag, to get out of my mud. I needed to move, and something I could do that would had structure would be these 5 hard things. And so that moment was a dew point for me. And so I practiced for 10 days doing the 5 hard things. And then by that time, my book came in the mail. I read the book, and I set off to do 75 days of hard. And that, for me, created some momentum. It got me moving. It got me out of my headspace where I was stuck, and got me doing again, which feels better when we do. When we do the things. And that was kind of the philosophy of 75 Hard. So for you dew point listeners out there, it's not just doing things, but sometimes the most rewarding things that we'll ever do in our lives are hard things. And here's the quote from the book that I loved. The author of the book was talking to a guy named the Iron Cowboy. And the Iron Cowboy is that guy that did 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states. And they're having a conversation. And during this conversation, the Iron Cowboy says something that really struck the author of the book. And it went something like this. Life and the marketing position and commercialization of life tells us this lie. And the lie is that success and happiness is us, Roy and Kirk, on a lawn chair on the beach, crystal blue water, margarita on a small table between us. Maybe our partners or someone special is next to us, and we're just there in the Caribbean of life. And that's the lie. The lie is that might be a moment of happiness, but there's no joy there. What the Iron Cowboy said was, if we really think about it, we're really honest, the moments in our lives we feel that the absolute most joy and the most self-worth is right after we did something hard that we chose to do. And there's a significant differentiation between hard things in life that happen to us and when you choose to do something hard, like go get that certification, go back to college, do a mud run, do a 5K, do a marathon, do a half marathon, do a 10-day juice fast. When you choose hard and keep that commitment to yourself, all kinds of beautiful things happen to your spirit, to your emotional state. And that's been something that has been also a big help when I went from that into kind of meeting these military groups that asked me to come speak to them. When you get up with 30 guys at 4 a.m. and they all strip down to their skivvies, and now they've all got a lot more muscle mass than you do, and a lot more body art, and they're 20 years younger than you, but you were a ranger once, so you're going to do this thing with them. And then we empty a truck of ice into these tubs. We fill the tubs with water, and we're going to do ice plunges. And I'd never done ice plunges before, but I'm not going to say no now, am I? And it wasn't about macho. It wasn't about bravado. That morning underneath that shed, it was about community. It was about fellowship. It was about brotherhood. And we got in and out of those ice plunges. And it just affected me in such a way that I came home, and after a few months of reflection, I bought an ice plunge tank and put it on the side of the house. And I set it to 45 degrees. And I go out there and I look at that thing and I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to suck. I don't want to be cold. But I also know when I'll get in that thing for 3 minutes and get back out, I feel really good about myself. Because this is a hard thing. I chose to do it. And nothing else that happens to me today is going to be harder or suck more than what I chose to do. If I can do that, I can do so much more. And so those kind of lessons, those dew point lessons, for me have shown up on the wings of others, the influence of others that have lifted me up or inspired me from above to reach higher. And I've loved those. I've loved those.
It's great stuff, and now somebody can get a hold of your Walkie-Talkie Socks, and from the ground up, they can transform themselves.
Okay, I hope so. I hope so.
Right?
I need to have a sock with some ice on it. That's what I need.
That's it. And then you can go play a sport called ice hockey.
Oh, ooh!
I'm just saying.
Oh, let me write that down. That's going to be the name of one of the socks right there. Ice hockey.
Oh boy.
Oh, I gotta love that. I love that ice hockey. Oh, we're doing that sock right now.
All right.
The first call when we're done, I'm going to make is to the design team and say, I need a polar bear with a hockey club in his hand or something like that, hockey stick in his hand. And this is we'll call it the ice hockey. That's so cool. That's Roy.
I got a million of them, dude. They're diminishing quality from that one. So.
Hey, I'll send you, Roy, when we get through, I'll send you a text. I'll text you. We're doing a sock survey. We put our designs out. We're just getting feedback on the designs. I got 2 series. One's just the regular walkie-talkies, but I do a lot of stuff with construction and safety, like workplace physical safety. You're creating a safety culture. And so we created a safety line, safety socks. So they're all about being, slip and falls and, hand protection. They're really clever. The design team came up with some clever ideas that talk about, how to keep yourself safe in the workplace and to start your day with safety. So if you don't mind, I'm going to send you 2 surveys. Will you take them and give me feedback on the socks?
I will take him.
I love it. I love it.
Sure thing. Well, Kirk, thank you so much for popping on to the podcast here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and nice to see you outside of the context of a conference when we're passing each other in the hallways or wherever, and having a brief conversation there. So sounds great. I'm looking forward to learning more about the socks
Roy,
and you.
you want to do something fun as we close? Um,
Sure.
what if you send me an email with your mailing address,
Hmm.
and I'll mail you 5 signed dog poop books, and you can send those out to the first 5 people that make comments on this podcast or on this
That's a
episode.
that's a lovely thing.
So I'll put those in the
That's a
mail. I'll put those in the mail today, and then you can send them out to the people that make the comments. If that's or what you can do whatever you want to with them, but might be something you could do.
that's a great idea. I love it. I love
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Always
if we do this in the future, I'll send you socks instead. But this time, it's just going to be books about poop. So,
books about poop. Let's do it, baby.
all right.
Kirk, great talking to you. See you soon, and good luck in your ventures. And hang in there and find more dew points as you go.
Oh my gosh, Roy! I've loved being on Dew Point. Thank you, Roy.